SBR Videos is sponsored by Sports Cash System. Click on the link below for more information.
Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're going to preview the BCS Championship game right now, and we're going to welcome back our two most popular guest handicappers, Troy West from allplayswin.com and Joe Duffy from offshoreinsiders.com. Guys, thanks so much for being here. And quickly, before we start analyzing the game, let's just give very quick plugs in case there are some people watching this who don't know who you are. Troy, let's start with you. Give a quick plug.
Hey, thanks, Pete. Allplayswin.com, going strong now for 7 years. Off to a great start in the bowl season, one of my favorite times of year. Very excited to be here with Joe Duffy and yourself to preview what I think is going to be a fantastic national championship game.
Okay, sounds great. And Joe Duffy, for anyone who is watching this who's not familiar with who you are, tell us who you are and what your site's all about for about 10 seconds.
26 years of my plays being public, going back to the score phone days. 16-hour days means a lot of winners ahead in the bowl season. Joe Duffy's picks at offshoreinsiders.com.
All right, great plugs, guys. And now let's get down to the meat and potatoes here, analyzing the BCS Championship game. This is it, college football. Not only is this, the last game this year, but it's the last BCS Championship game of all times. Of course, next year they'll start the new format. Florida State, 8.5-point favorite, total 67.5. And, just to sum up the basic factors here, we know that both Florida State and Auburn have awesome offenses. And, the question is Florida State's defense going to be able to hold down Auburn or not? And if you look at the numbers, Florida State only gave up more than 17 points once this year. And that, of course, was kind of a weird game to Boston College. But if you look at their competition, they didn't quite, hold down that many high-powered teams, except for Clemson. They did hold down Clemson, held them to just 14 points. So I guess the issue here is if you think Florida State can hold Auburn down like they held Clemson down, probably Florida State minus 8.5 is a great pick. If they can't, then you have to figure at least the over's a great bet, and maybe Auburn plus 8.5 as well. So let's get your general feelings on the game. We'll start with you, Joe Duffy.
Well, no, Peter, once again, I agree with pretty much all you said. My official play for this video will be on the over, mostly because Florida State definitely loaded on offense, as is Auburn. But Auburn is a team that got better and better as the year went on offensively. Now, people who watch my videos or buy my premium picks know that I always say when teams are peaking at the end of the year, they're actually hurt the most by the long layoffs. But the reason why Auburn's offense is the exception, Nick Marshall, when they started the year, the star quarterback for Auburn, they only had 1/4 of the playbook. Then they really, each and every week, they started to add more and more plays. And I'm hearing from some of my sources now with the time off, they're adding even more wrinkles to their playbook. So that's why I believe Auburn's offense definitely has the big upside. Florida State, great numbers on defense, but as you said, they haven't seen an offense like Auburn except maybe Clemson's.
All right, sounds great. Now let's move over to Troy West. All right, Troy, Joe Duffy seems to believe that, Florida State's defense won't really be able to hold Auburn down, so that makes him think that the over at 67.5 is a good bet. Do you agree with that analysis, and what's your official pick on this game going to be?
I can somewhat agree with the analysis. I am going to go with Florida State in this game, though, Pete. I know if you look at schedule for schedule, Auburn did play a tougher schedule throughout the course of the season. But I just think this Florida State team is so determined. What they've done offensively, defensively, special teams, this is by far, in my opinion, the most overall team. The scores show it. The big game that they did have against Clemson, they beat them by over 50 points. I mean, this is a real deal Florida State football team. And Auburn, you got to remember, they did have some hiccups throughout the season. You look at early on, they beat a Washington State team by 7 points. They lose to LSU. In my opinion, they get very lucky against Alabama. They had some other close games. One other thing that I do like that Florida State has going into this is, yes, Auburn does run a high-powered, fast-moving offense, but a lot of it is out of the zone read. And I think you give a team over 30 days to prep for a zone read type offense. I think with the talent and the speed that Florida State has on defense, I think they are going to at least contain Nick Marshall to a point where they win this game somewhere in the realms of a 45-24 type game. That's my best bet right now is Florida State minus the 8.5 feet.
Auburn played some games this year that went, close to 100. Their game against Texas A&M was like 45-41. So you see this game as more likely to be like Florida State's game against Clemson than Auburn's games against Texas A&M or Missouri or teams like that.
I do. Florida State's defense, to me, is not even in the same category as the Missouris and the Texas A&Ms and some of these teams that Auburn has seen. I think it is more in the elite, like the Alabama. And Alabama was able to contain this Auburn team for for more than 3.5 quarters. So I think Florida State's defense will show up. Like I said, over 30 days to prep for what I think, it is a good offense, but there's really not a lot to it. Nick Marshall struggles to throw the ball down the field. I've seen this guy overthrow receivers time and time again. They focus more on the running game and the zone read, and I think Florida State give this defense enough time. I think they're going to at least contain it to a point where they hold Auburn into the mid-20s.
Sounds good. So you guys aren't exactly disagreeing with each other here, but Joe, Duffy, does that make you nervous a little bit? Florida State's defense, you think they might show up and really contain Auburn like they did Clemson?
Well, no, there's no question that Florida State does have one heck of a defense. But as far as slowing down Clemson, look, Clemson has a long history of coming up short in big games, especially the deeper they go in the year. Obviously, they did beat Georgia early on in the year. But Florida State, they just haven't really been tested all that much. Their defense hasn't. And based on the two, the most high-profile strength of schedule is the Sagarins, which has Florida State with the 63rd strongest strength of schedule. I prefer Massey from a handicapping standpoint. I think they're a little bit better. They have Florida State playing the 43rd ranked strength of schedule. They just really haven't seen an offense this diversified and this fast. And it is true Nick Marshall isn't sensational throwing down the field, but he's as good as a running quarterback as you're going to get. And they face that very tough SEC schedule, so they're tested against quality defenses. Now, granted, according to NFL draft perspective, even as far as prospects are concerned, Florida State is as good of a defense as there is in the country, but Auburn still has faced higher quality defenses than Florida State has faced higher quality offenses. And I do think that, as I said, Marshall got better and better as they open the playbook more. And with that month off, expect a lot more wrinkles than you've seen during the regular season.
All right, great analysis, guys. As always, as expected, that's why you guys are the cream of the crop. Joe Duffy liking the over 67.5, and Troy West liking Florida State minus 8.5. And I'll tell you what, that jibes with my notes. In my notes right here, I said maybe just Florida State team total over 38, which if you combine both of your picks is what you get. Great input, guys, and great analysis. Thanks, really appreciate it.